Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hammer Podcast. Today is October 21st, 2020, and I'm speaking with Julie. Julie went to the Rebekah Home for girls. All right, so we're going to let Julie go ahead and start. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, I wasn't one of them cases that the police needed to be involved or anything like that. I know some of the cases were like that, but mine wasn't. I was just having, skipping school. I was hanging out with my boyfriend. I think my mom was afraid I was going to get pregnant. And so being a single mother, having raised 3 children, I think that it was just too much stress for her to handle with me skipping school and such. Mm-hmm. And so she sent me to what then was the Dye Home. The Rebekah Home had been officially closed, and I went to, we called it the Dye Home because that's the last name of the people who ran the home. Their last name was spelled D-Y-E.
Dye.
There was
Okay.
David Dye, right?
Yeah.
And there was also the Palmer home was also there. Ray Palmer and his wife, I don't remember his wife's name. They ran a home there. Now, interesting fact, the Palmer's daughter died in the plane crash that Roloff was in, that killed him.
1982.
Right. And so after their daughter died, they felt inspired to come to the Roloff Industries and start a home. I don't know the timeline of when the homes was closed. I don't know if it was closed before he died or if it was after he died that they closed the home. But the Rebekah Home was officially closed. And so what they did was they kind of secreted us in the back of the farm so nobody could really see us.
Okay.
And the Rebekah dorm was empty. That way, at the time I was there, that Rebekah Home was being used basically like a hotel for like people who would come and visit their kids who were in the home or visiting pastors. You know what I'm saying? Just people
Right.
visiting. It was basically a hotel. And then the Palmer home and the Dye Home. The Dye Home was in this dumpy trailer in one of the, what did you call it? You called it like Trailer Row?
Trailer Row, yeah.
Okay, so ours was, it was dumpy. It was some dumpy old trailer with an add-on. It was in really bad shape. And then the Palmer home, we ended up, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I ended up going there, I think it was either 88 or 1988 or 1989 that I first got there, that my mom sent me there. And the Dye Home was like this dumpy trailer, really dumpy trailer, with like addition to it. I think where we slept, the gals slept, was the actual trailer, and I think where the Dyes lived,
Yeah.
I think that part was added on. But we ended up one time, for I don't remember what reason, we ended up going one time to the Palmer home. Their trailer home was a lot nicer. They had a double wide, and theirs was a lot nicer compared to ours. But it wasn't nice. It was nicer. You know, yeah. I mean, everything there, everybody just was in abject poverty there. I mean, it was, all the trailers on the row we lived were just dumps. And anyway, so I stayed there about a year and a half. The first time I stayed there about a year and a half. The second time I stayed there maybe a week or two, and I was aged out by that time. And so I didn't stay. But let's see. Do you want me to go in, like, I wanted to hit on the schedule, like our schedule, so that do you want me just to go into that, or do you want me to add to this?
Whatever you want to do, Julie. It's up to you.
Okay. Well, the one thing that I wanted to hit on is, like, how much religion and how much God was part of our daily life there.
Okay.
Okay. I don't remember time, like the exact time, but we would get up in the morning. I don't know what time. We would go into the living room, and then we would listen to 15 minutes of Roloff preaching, which was the family altar program. It was on the family altar program.
Okay.
It would be about 15 minutes. Okay. Then we'd go back and, back to our side of the trailer, and we'd get dressed in the school uniform, which at the time I was there, it was a white button-down shirt and a blue skirt. Okay, and of course your skirt had to be so long. I don't remember I'm not positive what it was, but I think what it was is, like, if you kneeled on the ground, the skirt had to touch the ground. It had to be at least that long.
Below your knees.
And of course pantyhose. Right. And pantyhose. And of course shoes. Okay, so then we'd get dressed, get our school stuff together. We'd go back out to the living room for 15 minutes of Bible recitation. Now, do you know what the Bible recitation is?
No, I don't.
Okay. They would have certain verses of the Bible picked out. And it could be anything from 2 verses to a whole chapter of the Bible. And these were set verses that we were supposed to say, and we'd follow them all the way through, and then we'd start all over again. Now, it would take I timed it one time, and it was about a week and a half it would take to get from the first, Genesis 1:1, and the first one would be like Genesis 1:1 through 3. And then it would go all the way to, I don't remember the last one, something in the New Testament. But we'd have to say them. And then start all over again when we were done. So that would take us about a week and a half to get through the whole thing. Did I explain that well?
Yes. Yes, you did.
Okay. So anyways, so we do 15 minutes of that in the morning before school. Well then, by that time, the guys would be ready to take us to school. The guys were the people that were in the home.
Uh-huh.
So we'd go to school, and our first class was Bible class. That lasted an hour. And of course we had Bible verse memorization in there too. I can't remember how long it was. It was like every week we had to learn a new Bible verse. And every day we'd say it over and over again in the class. And of course there'd be some Bible, something to do with, God and whatever.
Right.
Okay, so, and we do that every day except Wednesday, which is, we'd go to chapel on Wednesday. For that time period. And that was, and their chapel was at the church, the People's Baptist Church on the campus. Okay, then we do our regular school, which of course was the Accelerated Christian Education.
Right.
And, you'd have them packets. And I don't think it was every packet, but some of the packets I remember, you had to memorize a Bible verse before you could start the packet. Like, you had to memorize the Bible verse and get it authorized by one of the, I can't remember what they called them, but one of the teachers there.
Right.
They had to sign off on the Bible verse, and you actually memorized it before you could actually even start the packet. And so then around noon we would go to a separate building which was called the Come and Dine, and that's where we would eat our lunch.
Yes, the cafeteria.
And
yes.
all the right.
The Come and Dine. Yep.
Yep. And so instead of saying prayer, we would have to sing grace. And I have a terrible voice, so I'm going to try to sing it. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, how did it start? We thank thee, Lord, for this our food. God is love. God is love. Totally off key I am. But I think there was another verse to it. I think there's like 2 little stanzas in there. So instead of saying grace, we would sing that, and then we would eat. Well, then we would go, after we're done eating, we'd go back to the school and continue our curriculum. And then school ended around 3:30. So what we'd do, we would go, we were like the high school students, so we were upstairs in the school.
Right.
So we'd come downstairs to the main floor, and we would wait in the principal's office because Brother Di, the person who ran the home where we lived at, he was the principal, and his wife was his secretary. Her name was Evelyn. So we would wait there, and while we were waiting, we would have to do Bible recitation again. Now this time it was for 30 minutes. So we would say, the prescribed Bible verses for half an hour, and then when we were done, usually he'd be done with whatever he had to do with the school, and then we'd go to the Dumpy trailer again, and we'd do all our schoolwork and goof off and do whatever we had to do. Then would be dinner, and of course there'd be prayer before dinner. We'd eat dinner there in the trailer home. While we were eating dinner, we had to listen to Lester Roloff again at the family altar program. Now this was, I can't remember if it was 30 minutes or 45 minutes, but while we were eating dinner, we had to listen to his preaching.
Some of
then
his,
of course, go ahead.
So some of his sermons, some were 15, some were 30, some were 45. It just depended on how much he wanted to blast out that day.
Well, I remember this also clearly because we had to do this. This was part of what we had to do. And, anyways, after we were done eating, we could goof off or whatever. Then before bed, Brother Di would call us all into, we had a prescribed bedtime, and I can't remember what time it was, but before bedtime, Brother Di would call us out into the living room, and he'd read scripture to us, then give a little mini sermon, then pray. Sometimes he had some of us pray, sometimes he had some of us read Bible scripture. Of course, the prayer, and that's when we went to bed. Okay, and on Wednesday, so that was our Monday through Friday. On Wednesday, we had an evening service to go to over and above all this. And on Sunday we went to both morning and evening service. I don't think we did any Bible recitation or anything. I think it was just the church was enough for us. Of course, we had the occasional revival where we'd have visiting pastors and go every night. Saturday, I can't remember, I'll be honest, I can't remember what we did on Saturday, if we did Bible recitation, if we had to listen to the family altar, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I do remember that all these days, and that's the one thing I wanted to hit on, people, this is just too much. This is too much.
Oh.
You know, people send their kids here.
Yeah, it's way too much. Way too much. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
That is just, if you want to turn somebody against religion, just do this to them. You know, make them do this every day. They'll be like, I'm so sick of hearing about God. I don't want anything more to do with it. You know, just that alone. And then all the other crazy stuff that they do there. You put that on top of it, and nobody's happy. But, okay, so that's really what I wanted to touch on there, but there was, and then the stuff they did, let me see, the stuff that they had us do, like, of course, the gals had to wear dresses, and, they couldn't wear trousers. When they had to wear pantyhose when they were in church.
Now you said the blue dress. They had a blue dress on.
Okay, for the school uniform. Oh! Okay, there's an exception here. Remind me of this. I'll tell you about the exception.
Okay.
For school, the school uniform, at least in the female version. I don't know with the boys because we were separated.
Right.
The girls it was a white button-down shirt and a blue skirt was the school uniform.
Now, on Wednesdays, did it make you wear a red dress?
The red, when I was there, when I was there, the only time you had to wear that ugly polyester A-line dress and the checkered white and red checkered shirt was when one of the gals ran.
Okay.
If they ran or did something equivalently bad, that was their punishment outfit.
Did you have to wear those ugly culottes?
No, we didn't have, what ugly culottes? I never heard about ugly culottes.
Oh, they were like, you know what culottes are.
Yeah, we were able to wear them, but we couldn't wear them to church. We couldn't wear them outside. We never got to go outside the trailer anyways, but we couldn't wear them outside the trailer.
This was in the early 80s, but they had these ugly faded pink culottes that were just the ugliest thing you could ever see. Yes.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't have. Wow. No, as a matter of fact, I took the dyes off because, okay, nobody, up until this time, up until this time where I told them I wanted to wear the ugly red skirt, nobody in our home had to wear it. And so I can't remember, there was like some storage closet or something in there, and we found all these ugly A-line red polyester skirts and the checkered shirts. And I told the guys that I wanted to wear that as if I was on punishment. And for some reason they let me. I guess they thought that I'd be so embarrassed, maybe because people would have thought I was bad. But I wore that thing for like 5 days, and finally Mrs. Dye came up to me and said, "You got to stop wearing that. You can't wear that anymore." And wouldn't you know, the next time they went out of town. Come to find out, Mrs. Dye was getting fertility treatments. Well, we didn't know that at the time, but we later found out. Well, anyway, she went to the hospital out of town to get fertility treatments. And two of the gals that were in the Dye home tried to run. We had a babysitter. We had some lady come and babysit for us while they were out of town. Well, two of the gals ran, and then they ended up having to wear them ugly red skirts with the red and white checkered shirt. And I can't remember. I think they made them wear them for like a month.
Ugh.
But it was total humiliation because everybody knew they did wrong, because that's the outfit you wore when you were in deep trouble. It was a humiliation thing.
Right.
They had to wear it to church, too.
You just stick
so
out.
Everybody on the farm knew.
You stick out like a sore thumb.
Right. And that was funny, because they had changed all the clocks. Like we must have been like stone sleepers, because they came in and changed all the gals' clocks in their room so they wouldn't wake up, right?
Okay.
And they took a pillow, and I don't know what they used, maybe a shoe or something, but they took a pillow, covered the window, the glass, and they broke the glass out so it wouldn't make a sound. I didn't know. Somebody had explained it to me. Like, they put the pillow over there, and like if you hit the glass won't make a shattering sound.
Muffles it,
apparently. And and so that's how they got out without us hearing them, or waking up. They'd be far gone by the time we woke up, because they set the clocks to where, we'd get a few more hours of sleep before they went off. The alarms went off.
Right.
To wake us up. And it just so happened that one of the men that ran one of the men's homes were at it was a bus stop or the train station they went to. But they were one of the people that ran the homes, so one of the men's homes, was there picking up a man or a boy coming into one of the homes.
Okay.
And so they saw the girls over there.
Oh, man.
Trying to get out of town. And I don't remember the story. They either grabbed them or they called Wiley Cameron, to come pick them up, or I can't remember exactly, but they were spotted by him. And that's how they got caught. Otherwise, they would have gotten away.
Oh, slick Cameron.
And the funny thing is, I'm sorry?
I said, oh, slick Cameron.
Yeah, I don't know. He can seem kind of sleazy to me. I never.
Yeah, from what I've heard. From what I've heard, he was.
Okay, I always suspected that. I mean, but anyway. So the funny thing was, in the end, they sent both of the gals home anyways. So it's like, what are you proving?
Right.
I mean, they tried to get away. You punished them with this outfit, and then you ended up sending them home anyway.
Oh, did they try and leave with the outfits on?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they were wearing their regular. Well, I can't call it street clothes, because gals on the street wouldn't wear them type of clothes, and I think that's why I think that's why the man who was coming up to pick up whoever was coming into the homes, I think that's why they spotted him, because he probably stuck out.
Yeah.
You know, because here's these gals in pantyhose and dress shoes and dresses at a bus stop or train station or wherever they were. I mean, they probably stuck out.
Yeah.
That's probably how he spotted them, because I don't think he really paid much attention to who came and went in the homes. I think he just thought, well, look how they're dressed. They must be from the Palmer home or the Dye home. But yeah, that's one of the things I noticed was, like, everybody there was just so, they kept them poor. They were just so poor.
Some of them, when I was there at the school, everybody, even the staff members, they all had to wear the 3-piece suits. Now, I don't know if they got them from a secondhand store or what, but they were. I guess there was a requirement when they went to church and stuff like that. They would wear the 3-piece suits.
Now that you mention it, I do. Well, see, okay, that's another thing. Okay, we weren't allowed to look around in church. I don't know about, like, yeah, were you in the Anchor home or the?
No, I just went to the elementary school right next to the Come and Dine, the one that was downstairs.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Because once you became in high school, you would have to go to. Did they have a separate boys' school? They must have had a separate boys' school.
The Anchor Home and the Lighthouse, they lived there and they did school there. The Anchor Home.
Okay. Did they have a separate?
Maybe it was a Lighthouse. I can't remember, but one of them was for, like, junior high kids, and then the older ones, like in high school, went to the other home, either Anchor or Lighthouse. So.
Okay, because, like, with the gals, like, we had the. Did you ever see the school, the 2-story school where? Well, yeah, of course.
Yes, I was on the bottom floor. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because, like, the gals, once you went to high school, you went to upstairs, and of course the boys, they weren't allowed to be, in that same school. They would have to, once they went to high school, they would have to, I never thought about it, to probably go to whatever building the Anchor or Lighthouse was going to.
Right.
Yeah, because, okay, right, like in church, we weren't allowed to look around.
Well, because there were boys there.
Okay, we would come in, meet. Right. They didn't want us looking. Like, we were never allowed outside the trailer home unless we were actually, like, well, usually we'd walk to the van. That was pretty much it. And then we'd drive the van to wherever, to the church, to the school, to the Come and Dine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, if we just happened to be walking, like, let's say from the van to the Come and Dine, and men approached, we would have to look down.
Okay.
But, okay, if there were no men around, we had to look straight ahead. We couldn't look this way and that. We couldn't gauge our surroundings. So we just had to either look straight ahead, or if men were there, males were there, we had to look down at the ground. And the same thing in church. Like, how they, like, in the Baptist church will say, do we have any visitors here? Raise your hand or stand up or whatever.
Right.
We were not allowed to look around. We had to look straight ahead at the pastor. When we came into church, we'd arrive maybe 20 minutes before the sermon started. We would have to look at our Bibles. We would have to pretend we were reading. We couldn't look up. We couldn't socialize. We couldn't do anything.
And if I
look at our Bibles.
If I'm not mistaken, the girls would sit right in the center.
Mm-hmm.
The center pews, the first, like, 5 or 6 rows.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Palmers sat in front of us. The Palmer home sat in front of us. The Palmer home had more gals because they had more rooms in their trailer home. They would take up 2 pews and they'd be in front of us, and then we'd take up us gals would take up the next pew, and then the guys would sit behind us monitoring us. So they didn't sit in the same pew. Like the Palmers would sit, like they had the 2 rows. Well, Raymond and his wife would sit in the second row,
right,
along with the gals, whereas the guys would sit behind us, not in the same row as us. So the guys could monitor us, make sure we were not looking around, not goofing off.
Okay.
I just want to say, this alone, no matter what else happens, this isn't going to turn your kid good. This is going to turn your kid bad. All this God and all this monitoring, and you can't do anything. I mean,
right.
You bring a kid in from being able to just act like a normal human being, and you put them all in all these restrictions and all this religion thrown at them. This is going to be counterproductive to what you want the end result to be.
Right.
You know, and then you throw in all the wackiness, you know, the mental illness isn't, you know, it isn't an illness, it's a sin, and, you know, psychology is from the devil, and you throw all that in there, and, you know, if your kid's having problems, your kid's never going to get better.
Yeah, mental illness was basically you had devils in you.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And they wouldn't allow any type of medication, any type of antipsychotic medication there. So if you had a psychological problem, you were only going to get worse if you went there.
Well, you know, Julie, their motto was, all you need is Jesus. Jesus will take care of everything. All you have to do is pray to him. Yep. That was your drug, right there.
Well, let me tell you another thing that
Sure.
I saw one time that happened there. I wrote this down so I wouldn't be okay. Well, one thing I want to add before I go into this story.
Okay.
I know I think somebody else touched on this in a previous interview. The letters coming in and going out were monitored. And if they didn't like what was going out, they would bring the letter back and say, I'm not sending this. You've got to rewrite this. And they tell you, like, what part had to be left out.
Okay.
Right? But letters coming in, what happened to one of the gals there, like a third of her letter was blacked out one time.
The letter coming in?
They just blacked out. Yeah.
Okay.
They read the letter. And apparently they didn't like what the parents put in there. And so they blacked that part out. And we could never figure out what it was. We tried holding it up to the light. We tried various ways of trying to read what was written, but we couldn't. They blacked it out pretty good. We couldn't tell what was written in there. And I'll tell you what, if I could find that gal today, I would ask her, did you ever find out what was blacked out in that letter? Because we were wondering, it's like, what did your parents write that was so bad that the guys couldn't, you know, and this one gal, she came in voluntarily. She wanted to get closer to God. So she voluntarily came in there. She wasn't like me where I was like, my mom made me come. But, yeah, so I'm thinking, geez, what is, you know, so I don't know. But then anyways, it wasn't until I left that I found out my sister had sent me some pictures from her prom.
Oh.
And the guys took half of them away. They didn't give them to me until after. Because I saw them in my suitcase. I was like, where the heck did these pictures come from? I've never seen them. And I showed them to my sister. I was like, did you send? I don't remember you saying. She said, yeah, I sent them to you. And then I looked at them. I thought, oh, I could see, like, she was with a boy.
Ah.
The pictures where she was with a boy, they took them out, and they only let me have the pictures where she was standing alone with her dress.
They didn't want you. They didn't want you lusting.
I guess that's the only thing I could think. Like, I don't know, but that was like, okay, that's just weird. That's creepy. But anyways, let me tell you this one story about. We would occasionally have revivals there, and the old-fashioned revivals where it would be like an entire week of a guest pastor coming in and preaching and getting you right with God.
Right.
Well, I remember one time we had a tent revival, and at the beginning, like after we sung all the, how they sing all the songs at a time, and then they go into the sermon. Well, they sang all the songs, and then they call this one gal up there. Now, this is a gal who lived on the farm, and this is the story that I heard.
Okay.
She had been through the Rebekah, I guess it was when Rebekah was still open. Apparently she had been through the Rebekah Home, and she aged out. And she had nowhere to go. She had no support system, so she had to stay on the farm. Because where was she going to go?
Right.
Right. So she stayed on the farm, and she started dating this fella who had been through either Anchor or Lighthouse, whatever. And the story I heard was he aged out too and was in the same position, no support system. So he had to stay. So he stayed on the farm. He worked. Well, they were dating, and everybody knew that they were dating. Well, what happened during this revival, Brother Cameron called her up on stage and said she had something to say. And she came up on stage, and she started crying and just crying. And she admitted to having gone off campus with her boyfriend unattended. So in other words, she left the farm with her boyfriend, and they did not have a chaperone. And they didn't have permission. And she made it very clear that had she not come up and confessed, that she would have been kicked off the farm.
That's all it takes?
And then apparently. And then the fella had to come up and do the same thing.
Oh.
And he had to come up and confess his sin of dating unchaperoned. And I'm thinking, my gosh, because I was thinking how free it was for, prior to that, I had thought, oh, how free it is for the people on the farm. They can do, whatever.
Yeah.
Apparently they can't, and apparently there were spies, because somebody told on them. I know they didn't tell on themselves.
When all together there was debauchery going on the farm. So.
That's what, okay. There's this gal that I communicate with who lived, she was, they called them townies.
Right.
The people that lived in town, and then they had the farm, and then they had the home.
I lived in town.
Right. Well, she was. Oh, okay. So you were a townie.
Yes.
Okay, so this gal that went to school when I went to school, she was a townie, and she was telling me about it was a total Peyton place over there. She said there was like a lot of stuff going on, married people and just all this stuff. Did you hear about that when you went to, well, you were so young, you probably
Yes, I was probably 10 or 11. So no. Wait, I was 72. Yeah, I was 10. So
how long did you go there?
I was there for 2 years. It was actually almost 2 years. It was 1981 to like middle of 1983, something like that. So
why did you quit going there?
Well, because I finished elementary and went to junior high, and I went to a public school after that.
Oh, so your parents didn't. Why didn't they just send you there, though?
I guess they realized how bad it was.
Oh, did you ever talk to them about this?
Not really. My dad was an avid Roloff follower.
Oh.
Like I said in another podcast, he even knew Lester Roloff's favorite ice cream.
No, it's not, hon. Oh. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to have to lock up the chickens. I'm going to take you out. I'm going to take the phone out there with me.
Okay.
Do this. Okay, so go ahead. They knew what's his favorite ice cream. I thought he didn't eat ice cream. Wasn't he? Get the sugar.
Well, they made homemade ice cream when I was there. They'd have that little wooden bucket. Remember that little wooden bucket with the thing that you turn, and you put salt and ice and stuff like that. They made the homemade ice cream.
Yeah.
It was pralines and cream.
Pralines and cream.
Yes.
Okay, because I thought he was against white sugar.
Well, there was a lot of things about Roloff.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a lot of things about Roloff that I thought I knew.
Yeah, I heard that one story about him and the daughter.
Yes.
That he never claimed.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty damning evidence. You know what I mean? Anecdotal, of course, but still. I mean, I thought Lester Roloff was a man of integrity. It turns out he's just human, just like the rest of us. You know what I mean?
Another Ted Haggard.
Well, no. Ted Haggard. Ted Haggard was different. Ted Haggard was gay.
Yeah. Well, I always wondered about Roloff's death. Like they said his plane went down during like some storm or something. And after I knew the whole story, I thought, are you sure he didn't do it intentionally? You know what I'm saying? Because
he did have the state after him.
Jim Jones.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, the state was after him. And usually in the cases where you have like some wacko, religious person, doing all this stuff, they usually end up offing themselves. So I kind of wondered. It's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Did he do it intentionally? Or was it an accident?
We will never know, Julie. We will never know.
Well, he had some really... Well, one of the things is... another thing that always bothered me is... He was like anti-white sugar, but then he liked brown sugar. He said brown sugar is okay. But brown sugar is just white sugar covered with molasses. So I thought, that always bothered me. I was like, it's the same thing. You're just adding something to it.
Did they have a general store when you were there?
Yes. And they sold the Blue Sky soda.
Yes. I remember.
All this nasty.
I believe it was either Wednesday or Friday. I can't remember. But when we got on the bus to go home, they would drive us to the general store. And if we had a quarter or 50 cents or $1, we could buy this licorice. Long, like 4 or 5 feet of this licorice. It was great, but it was sweet.
Yeah.
So obviously they were eating sugar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the sodas. What did they sweeten the soda with? They weren't using artificial sweeteners because it was a natural soda.
It could have been cane sugar.
It must have been sugar.
Cane sugar, maybe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But they had a lot of sweet stuff there. I think they had, like, natural ice cream, and they had different... At one time, toward the end, when, right before I went back home, they would set it up like, if you got, I can't remember what the thing was, something in school. You did good in school. You would get to go to the general store and get to pick something out. It was usually like a soda or something, or one of their like nutrition bar or candy bars.
Oh, those were gross.
They were, but like when you never get anything sweet,
yeah,
they taste really good. Like we never got anything sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, there was another thing. I heard it was somewhere on the farm, but I'm not positive because, like I said, we never got to go anywhere. We had to stay in the trailer home.
Right.
The guys would go to get cereal and other staples for the house. And what we would have to do is when they brought it back, like the flour and the sugar and whatever, we would have to take the bags, dump them out, and go through them to make sure they didn't have what they called weevils in them.
Weevils.
Weevil. I had never heard of it. I'm from Michigan. I had.
Oh, like probably like bugs or worms, maybe.
Right.
That's all I can think of.
Wherever they were getting the food from was not very sanitary. Yeah, but I remember that. It was pretty bad. But then I don't know if you want to know this, but the Dye's, Mrs. Dye was, I guess you would say she was infertile.
Yeah.
She said she didn't have fallopian fingers. So I guess like if she got, if her egg got fertilized, it wouldn't hold.
Right.
Right? It would just pass through her body. I guess. I can't remember the exact story about that. But anyways, so she was going for fertility treatments. And, which really isn't smart. Like, if you don't have fallopian fingers, you shouldn't do that. But she was going anyways. And what happened was she ended up getting pregnant, but then she ended up having a tubular pregnancy and it almost killed her. Well, it's like, if you don't have fallopian fingers, taking fertility treatment isn't going to help. Because your fertilized egg isn't going to stay.
Right.
It's just going to pass through. And so it ended up sticking in her
fallopian tubes.
How do you do this? Right.
Right.
And then it ended. It almost killed her. She ended up. Now this happened while I was there, right?
Right.
We didn't even know she was getting fertility treatments at the time. We didn't know. This is how we found out she was getting fertility treatments. She almost died from it, right?
Whatever happened?
Well, then
whatever happened to
go ahead.
Whatever happened to just praying to Jesus? What happened to that?
I know. Okay. This was there. I remember hearing it distinctly in a church service. Their reason for being anti-abortion, this is what they were preaching from the pulpit. Now, each individual person will have their own perspective on this. But their reason for being anti-abortion is like, if God didn't want you to be pregnant, then he wouldn't have let you get pregnant.
Right.
So my theory is, he didn't want her pregnant. Why is she trying to get pregnant?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? That can work both ways.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying?
That's true. Yep.
Why are you going against God's plan of you not having children? At least naturally, not having children. Well,
makes you
what
wonder.
happened after that is, yeah, I mean, it's like, come on, don't use it only when it's convenient for you. You got to stick with this. And where was she getting the money for this anyways? They were all so poor there.
Donations, probably?
That's what I'm thinking.
Offerings?
That's the only way they could afford it. Yeah.
Yep.
But, anyways, what happened shortly after that is one time when we were having that devotional at the end of the night.
Okay.
Before we went to bed, Brother Di said to us, there was this gal in the Jubilee home, which was not the I can't remember what the old people's home was, the golden years or something, but there was Jubilee for the adult females.
Right.
Most of them came in there willingly, from what I understand. Anyways, there was this gal in Jubilee. She was from Canada. I believe at the time she was only 16 or 17. She was pregnant, and her mother sent her there. Right?
Okay.
Her name, I won't say her name.
Okay.
But she was pregnant. And Brother Di told us that that gal had come to him and said, I will give you my baby if you give me a high school diploma. Now, I did not believe that when I heard it. I was pretty naive and I was pretty gullible, but that one did not fly with me. That did not sit with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Well, wouldn't you know, a couple months later, here the Dies have this baby that they adopted, and this gal's gone.
Huh.
So I was, and later on I found, yeah, it was her baby. But I'm wondering if maybe the Dies offered her a high school diploma in exchange for the baby. And they just wanted to cover their tracks. And that's why they told us it was reversed.
Maybe that's
you know what I'm saying?
Maybe that's what they were thinking. Well, she's 17, probably can't take care of a child right now. Let's take the child off her hands. In exchange for that, we'll give her something, let's say a diploma or something, something that she can use. You know what I mean?
Right. But instead of just being honest about it, I think they switched it. Because I don't care how desperate you are. If I have a baby that I can't take care of, I'm going to ask for a heck of a lot more than a diploma in exchange. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying.
Maybe a diploma and $100,000, but not a high school diploma. You can get, at the time, everybody had adult education at the time. You could just go get a GED.
Right.
You know, and you know, that ACE curriculum it wasn't accredited.
It was
so
worthless.
It was like worthless anyway.
Yes, it was worthless.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't like, oh, give me a worthless diploma for my baby. No, give me a few, tens of thousands of dollars, and we'll talk.
Right.
You know, not some worthless diploma. So I mean, it didn't sit right with me. You know, and sure, it did end up being her baby.
Right.
We knew that, but
maybe she just wanted to get out of there. Maybe just whatever they gave me I'll be happy with it. I just want to leave. You know.
Right.
It could be it.
You know. And I don't think anything. I think she did think that they were good people to raise the child. I truly think. I don't think she would have signed over if she didn't think, like, she thought they were bad people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't care how desperate she was to get out. I don't think she would have done that. As a parent, you think.
Right.
You know.
Did you have any encounters?
I don't know.
Did you have any encounters with Cameron?
Oh, yes. The second, I had a direct encounter with Cameron the second time I was there.
He was creepy.
Brother Di was too. The second time, okay, well, let me tell you the first time I was there. The first time I was there, Brother Cameron seemed to favor the Palmers, and it might have been because he felt guilty over what happened to the Palmer's daughter.
Huh?
Her death, in the plane.
Right.
It might have been that. Or it might have been that maybe they were there longer. I don't know. But I don't know if they were or not. I'm just saying. Oh, yeah, I think they were. Because, one of the gals that was in the Di home had previously been in the Palmer homes. And once the Di home opened up, they transferred her over to the Di home. So the Palmers were there longer.
Or maybe he favored Mrs.
Anyway.
Palmer.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. I mean, he was a creepazoid. But anyways, one time before a sermon, he came over to the Palmer. Like I said, we sat right before. It was a Wednesday sermon. Because we were a little more lax and loose on the Wednesday sermons.
Right.
We didn't have the guys sitting right behind us because the guys were at work at the school. So we were a little more loosey-goosey then. Well, Brother Cameron comes over to the Palmer gals and sits over there where they were sitting, and he asked stuff about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I didn't know anything about that. It was more of a boys' thing.
Uh-huh.
At least in my generation, it was more of a boys' thing. So I didn't know anything about it. But he asked stuff about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, what their names, what they do, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes up like 5 minutes later and preaches against the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like there's some evil thing. Like everything on the cartoons was evil. You didn't even know who they were 5 minutes ago, and now you're going to preach how evil they are?
They were very hypocritical. I don't know if you remember or not, but Roloff was very, very against TV.
Yes.
He called it the 3 sewer lines. Back then they had just 3 channels. And then this is in the 90s, all of us they used to have public access when the cable came out. And there's Brother Cameron on TV preaching. So,
really? I didn't know that.
Yes, they started having TV cameras or just regular video cameras in the church so they could stream it onto TV. Yep, public access.
Wow.
I remember that.
Oh my.
I remember that.
Wow, that is.
So everything they say they're against, all of a sudden. And like today, I mean, I know that a lot of the people are dead, but if you go to the People's Baptist Church Facebook page, And there's a big.
Yep, been there.
Did you see that one picture? It shows I don't know if it's the whole church, but there's a whole group of people inside the church. Girls are wearing pants. Guys have long hair.
Yeah.
Everything that
Mm-hmm.
Lester
And men wearing
Roloff.
shorts.
Yes, everything Lester Roloff was against, they're doing now. Yes.
Yep. And another gal that I know who had been in the home when Rebekah was still open, she said that she went there to visit the farm. Now this was before when Cameron. I don't know if Cameron was still there, or they had recently got kicked out by the state. But she said that she saw like snowmen and Santa Claus statues and stuff, like figures,
right,
out on the lawns over there. And she went to visit, the compound. And she was the first time, when I talked to her, it was the first time she said the word compound. And I would have never used the word compound, but when she said it, I thought,
it fits.
how offensive. But then I thought about it, I was like, oh my gosh, it was. It was a compound. It was a commune. It was what Jim Jones was.
Yes.
It's what Jim Jones had.
Without the Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Without the Kool-Aid,
yes.
Right.
And if you remember in Donna's story, they were drinking, they were smoking. Her husband was shooting up with some guy there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like you'd see in the world, but it was happening behind closed doors.
And I kind of wonder, I wonder how much of that was going on when we were still there, while I was still there.
Right.
I wonder how bad that was, because I don't think everybody was on the up and up, because most of them people that were there because, well, some of them aged out of the homes and had nowhere to go. Some of them came to Jubilee on their own to get out of drugs or alcohol or some other sort of addiction. One lady, the lady who taught the elementary school, maybe it was the same lady that when you were there. She was Latina. I don't remember her name, but I wouldn't say it even if I did.
When I went to the elementary school, it was the principal was Mr. Davidson, or no, Mr. Carter. That was his name, Mr. Carter. And Mrs. Davidson was kind of like the supervisor over the elementary school, and you had Mrs. Stagel, and they all wore the white blouse with the blue dress and the little tie and the pantyhose and the sandals. But
I forgot about the tie. Yeah, we had to have that tie. I forgot about that.
And they had another elementary school in town. It was called the Park Avenue Elementary School. It was for like the kindergarten through third grade or something like that. And there was a lady there, one of the nicest ladies. I would never say anything bad about her. Her name was Mrs. Copeland. I don't know when she died. She must have died like...
I've heard.
Yes. Real tall, skinny lady, had a bouffant hairdo. Just the nicest lady you could ever meet.
Did they call her Aunt Neener? Did they ever call her Aunt Neener?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I remember Mrs. Yoder.
Mrs. Yoder was there. She was the mail lady, and she also taught Bible class.
Yes. So.
And she also watched over Mrs. Roloff. Well, she was her baby when I was there. She was basically our babysitter because Roloff had gone dementia.
You never saw her at all.
No, whatever happened? What was it with her? Never saw her.
No, never.
I didn't even know she was alive until Miss Yoder came to babysit us one time when the guys were off getting their fertility treatments. And she mentioned Mrs. Yoder, and I'm like, she's still alive? Where is she?
If she is, she's got to be like in her 90s.
Why was she all shut up like that?
I have no idea. When I was talking with Donna thinks that maybe it was because of what happened with Roloff. Basically, Roloff just, if she didn't want to go to church, then she didn't have to. He was kind of like appeasing her. Whatever she wanted to do is whatever she wanted to do. So, but
So
it's just,
he was kind of, it was kind of like his hush money, kind of.
basically, it's
Basically.
speculation. It's speculation, but it seems plausible. You know what I mean? It seems plausible. I mean, especially coming from that place. When you have one of the staff was molesting his own daughter and all this other stuff, I'm like, this is out of hand.
Oh, one of the, okay, I don't remember the name, but we lived on that Dumpy, one of the Dumpy trailer rows.
Mm-hmm.
There was a house, a trailer kitty corner from us. It was the end trailer on the opposite side of where we stayed. There was a man and his wife, and they had like 5 kids. And the eldest daughter was getting molested. And the one gal I was telling you I talked to now, she was a townie.
Right.
She had, the gal who was getting molested confessed with her, like what was going on. And this gal, my townie gal, convinced her to go to Brother Cameron and tell him what was happening. And Brother Cameron kicked him off the farm, and I guess all his family left except the gal that was being molested. She ended up staying in the Jubilee home.
What?
And I was there when that happened. I was there. We heard that she was being molested, but there's so many stories that fly around there. I never knew if that was the truth.
Right.
Until I recently talked to this townie gal. I reunited with her, and she had told me the whole story that yes, that was true.
What Cameron?
But if he was doing it to her, he was doing it to the other kids.
Right. What Cameron should have done was should have called the police on him. Is what he should have done.
Exactly. He needs help. If he's right, he needs help. If it's forget revenge or whatever, all that. If he's doing it to her, he's doing it to them other gals, and he's doing it to other gals.
Yeah, and once he was kicked off the farm, maybe some other girls in town or somewhere else.
His own daughters, because he got to leave with his own daughters. They didn't take them kids away from him. They just the one that told,
right.
Just the one stayed on the farm,
No, man.
And the others went with the parents. So them other gals are being molested still.
Allegedly.
And he's probably molesting others.
Right. Oh, man. What a disgusting...
Yeah, so I thought, when I heard that, I was like, well, what good is that? Because he got the other gals.
Right.
And he's out and about molesting. He should be in jail.
I've always said that those type of characters... I've always said those type of characters are non-curable. You can't cure them.
I don't think so. It seems that they've tried a bunch of stuff, and it seems that nothing has worked.
No, they're incurable.
Other than maybe a lobotomy. I think the only thing, maybe a lobotomy, or maybe a lobotomy and a castration. I don't know. I don't know, but what they've done so far, nothing has worked.
Actually, there are some
So
people...
I think to just be...
There are some people that have tried things. One was like a bullet to the head or an axe to the neck or something. And they've gone to jail for it, but they end up being heroes in jail. So...
What do you... Oh, for against people who have done that?
Oh, yes. Child molesters in prison are the lowest of the low. They're the garbage of the prison system. Nobody likes them.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about some kids that have no recourse,
Right.
and they fear and shame them into silence. There's I just that.
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't know whatever happened to that gal. I hope she was okay, but being that she was on there on the farm, I don't see that her having much of a future.
Now,
You know what I'm saying?
Now, Julie, when you were at the home, there was some other girls that were at these homes that said that they never got their periods while they were at these homes.
Oh, I wanted to touch base with. I wanted to mention that I did write that down, but I forgot to mention it. When I was there,
Yeah.
we all had our cycles.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but again, we were not the Rebekah Home. Now remember, the Rebekah Home held like 400 people. Our home, at the most, I would say there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would say at the most we ever had in the home I was at was 7 gals. So we didn't have this mass population like they had in the Rebekah Home.
Okay.
And like the Palmer Home, they maybe had 12. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Now, so, okay, I want to ask you a question about that. Do you think the reason that they were stopping their periods was so they wouldn't get pregnant from, like, the molesting that was going on? Or what do you think the issue was?
If I had to take a guess, I would say probably. I mean, because usually, and you know, I'm a married man, so I know this. Usually when you're just about ready to have your period or on your period, that's when you're the most fertile.
Right. Yep.
So maybe if they didn't have their periods, they wouldn't be as fertile. So in case maybe one of them was being molested and it accidentally slipped, so to speak, there would be a less chance of them getting pregnant. That seems pretty plausible.
Okay, because that's the first thing that came to mind, because I was on this Yahoo group at one time that was one of the, the Rebekah Home people, and, for Rebekah Home survivors, and there was a lot of gals that said they were in the Rebekah Home and they did not have their periods the whole time, and nobody did. And so, when you said it, I already believed it, because there were so many gals already in this group that had said it, that said that was their experience. And that was my first thought when I read about it on the group. They're probably trying to cover up for child molesting, so these gals won't get pregnant. There's no evidence.
Yes.
They're troubled kids. If it goes to court, they're troubled kids. They're going to make up stories.
It also happened at the Bethesda home as well. So.
Oh. Okay, where was the Bethesda home? Where was that?
It was in...
Was that in Mississippi?
Mississippi. Hattiesburg, Mississippi, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and of course...
Now, okay, go ahead.
Of course, I believe it was in the early 2000s is when the Rebekah Home opened up again, but then it quickly closed down. So...
Right, okay, yeah, okay, I'm thinking, because the second time I went there, the guys were not in that Dumpy trailer anymore. They were in that Rebekah dorm. They used to be the hotel when I was there the first time. The guys were in that home. And the creepiest thing was that stupid picture of Lester Roloff. And I wonder, is that stupid picture of Lester Roloff, was that required furniture in every trailer there? Because I saw it in the Palmer home. One time we went to the Camerons, and it was in their home, and it was in that Rebekah home.
Well,
was that required, like,
according to, I'm thinking so, because according to Wiley Cameron, and I have probably about 10 or 13 of his sermons. You can't find them anywhere. I just happened to get them before they deleted them. He was talking about this one thing. He was talking about, how you go into a Christian home and you'll see a picture of Jesus, just a headshot or a painting of Jesus' head. That right there is a sin. It's a no-no. That's not Jesus. Okay? That's so. If you have, he would tell the audience, if you have a picture like that, take it down. Take it off your wall. That's not Jesus. So I guess to replace that, they had to replace it with another Jesus, Lester Roloff.
Well, yeah, because I always wondered that. I thought maybe that was just a guy thing, but then we happened that one time for some reason to go over the Palmers, and they had it there, and then
Yes.
one time we happened to go over the Camerons for whatever reason, and they had it there, and then when I was in the Rebekah home, they had it there. I'm like, what is that? This is like...
You're right. At the Agape Boys Ranch in Missouri, they had a dorm named after him, the Roloff dorm, and it had a picture of Lester Roloff. So...
Really? You know what it reminds me of? Like the old Scooby-Doo cartoons.
Uh-huh.
With the picture with the eyes that would follow you.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like there'd be somebody behind there, like watching those rascally kids.
Right.
And that reminds me of like Roloff, because like wherever you were in that room, as long as that Roloff picture was there, it always looked like he was looking at you. It's like I move over here and he's still looking at me.
Staring at you, yep.
Like his eyes moved or something. But
maybe it was
yeah,
maybe it was Wiley Cameron behind there, peeping in.
Well, I always wondered, because like, okay, I heard that the Rebekah dorms had the intercoms. Now I don't think they had intercoms in the Dye home, and I don't know about the Palmer homes. I heard they did, but I'm not positive because I never talked to them again. But we weren't allowed to. We weren't allowed to talk to them. But anyways, there was another thing in the school. We weren't allowed to talk to anybody that was not in our home. We weren't allowed to talk to the townies. We weren't allowed to talk to the farm people. We weren't allowed to talk to the Palmer home.
Oh, okay.
That, like I said, this is just these rules alone, without the abuse, without the whatever. It just makes you not want to sign up for what they're handing out. It'll turn anybody against it. Like, if I have to live with these rigid rules, I don't want this. Because, the townies couldn't talk to us. I mean, it wasn't just that we couldn't talk to them, they couldn't talk to us.
Right.
How wacko is that? I'm coming from a free world. I'm coming into here, and I can't talk to you because you're in a closed casket.
When I was there...
I mean, that's just wacko.
When I was there, we weren't allowed to talk to the Rebekah girls. But... We did talk to the townies, the girls that came from town to the Rebekah school. We got to talk to them on the bus. So they had some stories.
Well, my townie friend, who I just reunited with, is telling me some interesting stories about some stuff. But anyways, I'm not going to tell her story because that's her business,
right.
But anyways, I would like to say another thing is we did have on Friday what we call family night, and this is when we got our sweets. We got our ice cream, and we got to watch a movie. Now, they had what they called a monitor. It looked like a television, but it wasn't hooked up to an antenna.
Okay.
So we could, it was just to play movies, pre-approved movies. And like they would rent movies like Bambi. I don't know where they rented them from. Or who knows, maybe they had some rental place on the farm. I don't know. But it would be like Bambi or Snow White or something innocent. Or the what was that? That End Times series.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
A Thief in the Night.
When they used to scare the crap. Thief in the Night.
Yes.
Thief in the Night.
And
that series that scared the crap out of them.
And A Distant Thunder was the second one.
Go ahead.
You can find them on YouTube. They're on YouTube.
Yep.
So.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because it scared the crap out of me, and because I never felt that I was saved before I came there. I tried to get saved, and I never felt it. Mm-hmm. Like, I never felt that I was.
Right.
That stuff scared the crap out of me. I was like, I don't think I'm saved. I tried to get saved. I couldn't get saved. Maybe I'm unsavable. And this is what's going to happen to me. And like all of a sudden, everybody's going to be disappeared, and I'm going to go to hell, and I'm going to have to go through this tribulation.
Yes.
Period, where all this awful stuff happens to people. And, and so, I mean, yeah, they played that. When I was there, they played that. And it scared the crud out of me. That was the first time I ever saw that movie.
Your typical...
I don't remember...
You don't remember what?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You don't remember what?
I don't remember if they showed the second one, but I do remember they showed The Thief in the Night. Two men... I remember the song. I still remember the song. Two men walking up a hill.
Yes.
One falls down. And
one's left standing
or
still.
Something like that. You're
yes,
right.
I wish we'd all been ready.
Right.
Yes.
I wish you... Right.
Yep. There's no time to change your mind. The sun has come and you've been left behind. Yes.
Right.
I remember that.
Right.
I remember that song.
Yep, I can remember.
And the typical church service, of course, at the beginning they would have the songs, and one of the songs had to be "Living by Faith." That was like their theme song. And
yeah.
Yes, they would have the service. Well, of course, they would probably have some Rebekah girls, some Rebekah girls, some Jubilee girls would sing some songs with Faye Cameron. Oh my goodness, that woman was horrible. Faye Cameron had the worst voice ever. You have the voice of a goddess as compared to Faye Cameron. Faye Cameron was horrible. And then at the end...
I always thought maybe she was like a little off-key. I thought she was like a little off-key,
yes.
But she was loud about it. Like me, I'm like quiet about it. I know I don't sing well, so I'm going to be quiet, but she was like in front of the microphone doing it.
And then at the end, I remember this clear as day. At the end, they would say, if you're not right with Jesus and you'd like to come over here and accept him as your personal savior, please come to the front. And they'd have those stairs.
The altar call.
And then they would
the altar call.
They would sing "Just as I Am" was the song they would always sing. Yes, "Just as I Am" without one plea.
It's a play on your heartstrings.
Yes, and that was the typical service. It's like,
but that my blood was shed for thee or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, see, I thought I got saved, and I tried to get saved in one of them. But still, I just didn't feel it. I went up there, okay. You know how they say, if you don't think you're saved, everybody close your eyes, and if you don't think you get saved, raise your hand. Well, I assumed everybody was, this is a church, I assumed everybody was being honest.
Right.
And their eyes were closed. So I raised my hand, because I had tried to get saved like 5 times before, but I never felt that I was saved, right?
Right.
So I raised my hand, and sure enough, after he said, you can lower your hands and everybody can open their eyes, and some old lady from the church came up to me and said, would you like to pray? They're not allowed to talk to us, right? So for her to come up and say to me this one time, would you like to pray with me? I know she was looking. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I know she didn't close her eyes when I raised my hand, because she knows she's not allowed to talk to us. So she must have been looking. And maybe they purposely did that. Maybe they had, like certain people that would look for the hands that were raised and go up to them. And I'm thinking, well, that's dishonest, because you're promising us anonymity.
Well,
and then you're duping us.
Being a teenage boy, the altar call was my favorite time of the church service, because you'd see all those Rebekah girls over there, and all you could see is a line of asses. That's all you could see, Well, I was a teenage boy. I was a teenage boy at the time. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah.
Right, because they lean over. Yeah, they lean over on that. That must have been created by a man.
Probably.
That must be created by a man. Because, and the thing was, even after that, I still didn't feel it, and I really tried. I said, you know what? I don't want to go to hell, and I was praying this prayer,
right,
and I was faking it till I made it, and I never made it. And I went back thinking, well, that was humiliating. I raised my hands. God knows how many people were looking when they weren't supposed to be looking.
Right.
And I made a fool of myself, and I still feel as not saved as I was before I raised my hand. If I would have known that, I wouldn't have raised my hand. So that was like the 7th time I got saved. And I still didn't feel saved.
Yeah. Well, it happens. Some people get brainwashed very easily, some don't.
Well, this is not a part of it, but I just want to throw this out there.
Okay.
We've talked about this before. We messaged about this, but I'm a non-believer.
Okay.
I can look back at this in a different light now. Okay.
Yeah.
When I was 4 and a half, I was hit by a car. And let me go back. I was not in a car hit by a car. I was standing and hit by a car. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I had no protectiveness. So anyways, I suffered a traumatic brain injury. And I think that did something to my brain that made me to what most people aren't. And so this thing with like the emotions that a lot of people get, that most people get,
right?
I don't think I have that. I'm not a sociopath. I don't think that. But I don't think I have some of them emotional receptors that a lot of people. I think them were damaged when that happened.
So what you're saying is like when some people would cry, you wouldn't.
Right.
Okay.
And when like if you were like you knew the Baptist. The Baptists. I think the Baptists are the only denomination that do the altar call, from what I've seen. I don't know any other denomination.
The non-denominationals and the Pentecostals also do it.
Oh, okay. Now, I've never been to Pentecostal.
Occasionally, not all the time though. Not every service.
Okay. So. Okay. Because the only other ones I know, I've done Catholic, I've done Congregational, I've done Lutheran, and they didn't have the altar calls. They say you deal with that in your own time. So, right. So like, but the Baptists, when they get saved, quote unquote saved, they have this like crying and weeping and just like a man at closing time. They just.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And I never had that, and I think it was because the brain receptors that would have done that were dead in my brain. So I think maybe they felt something that my brain just couldn't comprehend. You see what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. Yep.
Right. Oh, okay. Because I don't know if I explain it well. So I think maybe that's why I never felt saved, and that's why I'm now an atheist, because I kept reaching for something that my brain had done that when I first got saved, I probably wouldn't have ever reached for something more.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Let's put it this way, Julie. The Baptists say that God can do anything. If he wanted to get you saved, he would have gotten you saved. No matter if you had a brain injury or not, he would have found a way, because he is God. He would have found a way to get you to recognize that he is God and would save you. Obviously, he must have been asleep that day, or those other 7 days after that.
And the 3 or 4 that happened after that.
He was probably out of...
I really tried.
He was probably out of town. So, yes.
Well, it's like Matt Dillahunty, do you know who Matt Dillahunty is?
Yes, I do, for the Atheist Experience.
Okay. It's like he said, right, Atheist Experience. It's like he says, if the Damascus Road experience was good enough for Paul Saul, why not me? What's wrong with me?
And he's right.
And so I said, you know, I have a brain injury. Show yourself.
Exactly.
I can't do what they're doing. So you got to help me out here. You know what I'm dealing with. And so I kept searching and I kept reaching. And as the homes gave me more and more, to deal with, I kept reaching and I kept searching, and
you never found it.
Finally, I just said, I just don't see it. I just don't see the evidence.
Well, let me give you a little comfort. Let me give you a little comfort, Julie. When I went there, I've never had a brain injury, never got hit by a car, but I never felt it either. So.
Okay. So it's not just
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. I was always searching. That's why I kept going.
It was after Rebekah's school, or after Roloff's church, I should say. We went to a Spanish church in town that was affiliated with Roloff. That didn't work. So I went to a non-denominational church. That didn't work. And then after that, basically, just like, okay, well, whatever. Just forget it. It ain't happening. So, it's just not for me.
Okay, so you tried. You did like what I did, because I did a bunch of different denominations, and I went even to like Islam, and I did
I didn't do that.
Buddhism.
I didn't go that far.
Universalism. I tried everything.
No, the reason why
maybe this just. Go ahead.
The reason why I went to those churches is because my parents made us go. I was still a child. I was still at home, so we had no choice but to go. And the thing was, the non-denominationals, they treated us like absolute shit. I mean, just
really,
we were second class compared to these people, because the name of the church, I'm just going to say it, Bayshore Bible Church is what it was. It was people. One of them was a
Bayshore.
Yes, it was out by the bay. It was close to the bay, and you had a lot of people there. Some were lawyers. One was a doctor. One was a nuclear physicist. There were some people that had businesses of their own, and of course we didn't. We didn't grow up rich or even well off. We were just barely making it, and of course, we were treated like the low-class people there. And it just angered me. It angered me because these people wouldn't pay attention to us. We tried to talk to the kids. I would try to talk to some of the girls, being I was a teenager. And the parents would, say, nope, let's go. Don't talk to him. So, fine. If this is religion, I want nothing to do with it. Nothing. So, that was the last straw. That was the last straw.
Right, especially the universalists who are supposed to be all-encompassing. I mean, like, they're supposed to be encompassing, like, the non-believers.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be encompassing the people, even the people who don't believe in God, and everything in between.
Right.
Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus. That's supposed to be all-encompassing, and if they're not encompassing you, you're thinking, forget you, what the heck, even you can't accept me?
Right.
Forget that nonsense.
So.
Oh, my goodness, we don't have universalists around here,
Mm-hmm.
so I never got the interaction like you did. But I read their teachings, and I thought, well, maybe this is right, because nothing else has worked. I don't have that security of heaven. So I thought, well, maybe this is it. And so I read the teachings, and I read their, theology and ideology and dogma and all that stuff. And that was my last go-to before I said, you know what, forget it. It's just not happening.
Right. And it was basically,
I just can't.
It was basically about your possessions. Like I said, these people had really nice cars, nice houses, especially the nuclear physicist. Man, did he have a nice house. It was huge.
Oh, I'm sure.
And of course, here I am. We used to we had a Chevy Citation back in the day, in the 80s. That got wrecked. So my dad bought this. It was the biggest station wagon you ever seen. It was a Catalina Safari. Gigantic station wagon.
Catalina Safari?
Yes. What a piece of garbage that was. And of course we'd drive up in church, and it was embarrassing, because everybody else was driving BMWs and Toyotas and just new stuff, and here we are with this garbage car. And I think that's, we lived on the east side of town. We didn't live on the nice side of town. So we were treated differently. And to me, that's the way religion is. If you're not like they are, then they treat you differently.
Oh, so. I'm looking at it online. Oh my, that's an ocean liner.
Oh my God, it was a yacht.
Wow.
It was huge. Yes.
Well, it's nice looking though. It's nice looking, but I can understand what you're saying when it's old and dilapidated.
Yes.
And you're like, I went to a Wesleyan, was it Wesleyan? I can't remember. One of the churches I went to trying to find my spirituality. It was the same thing. You had these, here I am, seriously, it was a 3-toned car, and and the muffler was hanging, and it was loud, and it was dragging. And, the alligator skins were flopping on the wheels, and, yeah, it was bad, and I'm like, I don't belong here. And it made me feel, next to this SUV that was like, well, at least my car won't be stolen, because they're going to try to steal anything else in this parking lot other than what I got.
Right.
But yeah, it felt intimidating. And you hear these people talking about, well, we couldn't afford to go to Hawaii because, my husband lost his job. And I'm thinking, I can't afford to go around the block because I don't know if, my gas tank has enough, gas in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, because you've been there, and
Yes.
you think, this is privilege that I can't understand. You know, and I know where you've been. Yeah.
Yep, that's how it goes. So,
well, anyways, I just wanted to add one more story.
sure.
Before. Okay. This one's kind of embarrassing. When I first came into the home, there was this gal, and this is the one that had been in the Palmer home when that was there, and then when the Dye home came, they transferred her over to the Dye home.
Okay.
Now, I would like to say, I think the Palmer home was for the more hardcore gals. You know, maybe somebody who was, you know, kind of a little left of the law.
Right.
Right. And so our home, I think, was for the more docile, you know, people.
Uh-huh.
And when I first got there, I was hurt. I was upset. And so I asked this gal, I says, you know, because I was thinking, like, how long do I have to be there? Because, you know, be here. Because I don't know. You know, I was just plopped here. I don't know, like, anything about my future. And so I asked her, I said, how long will I have to be here? And she says, most stay here a year. And then they go home. And so my year came, and so my year came and went, and there was no sign of me going home. And remember I told you I don't think they had speakers, you know, them intercoms.
Right.
In the Dye home, because it was just basically a trailer home. Whatever, and they were all poor. But that doesn't mean I don't think they had cameras.
Oh boy.
Right? Well, my year came and went, and there was no sign of me. You know, no word from my mom or the Dyes that I was going to ever get out of there. And I thought, I can't, you know, I staked my claim on a year, and a year has come and gone. And so one time, you know, it was shortly after my year, you know, they had nothing from my mother, nothing from the Dyes. So I woke up, you know, I stayed up, and I was just stressed about this. I was like, I can't stay here any longer. This is too claustrophobic for me. You know, too many rules, too many regulations, too much God.
Right.
And so we weren't allowed any, like, steak knives or anything, because, like, some people that came in there were like me, and they were not necessarily
Stable.
the best people to be in that situation. So they tried to protect the gals from themselves. But what they did have, stupidly, what they did have was ant killer. And and they left it under the sink where anybody could get at it. And so this one day when I couldn't sleep because I was so stressed out because I was like, I can't do this anymore, I went and got that ant killer. And I thought, well, it's better than killing ants because we once killed a scorpion with it. Yeah, scorpions used to get in that place.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I never saw a scorpion until I'm from Michigan. I never saw a scorpion until I got to Texas. And so what I stupidly did was I filled the glass with water and I sprayed some of that stuff in the water and I imbibed. And I thought nothing's happening, so I did it again. And I did it again. And I did it again. And I thought, this is nonsense. I don't know how this kills anything because it's doing nothing for me. And so then I went to bed.
You drank it?
And then I woke up and, yeah.
Oh.
This is why I'm not giving my name. One of the reasons I'm not giving my name. Well, then I went to bed, and then I woke up, and it was Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I remember this is because Mrs. Di was so calm about this. And I knew she wanted to kill me. But I got up, and all I could do was throw up.
Mm.
I was over the commode, and Mrs. Di said she would stay home with me while the others went to church. And I just spent the whole morning throwing up.
Mm.
While Mrs. Di listened to Wally Cameron. They must have had this on the radio, because I remember her listening to the radio, a sermon on the radio, and it sounded like Wiley Cameron, but I don't remember. I was throwing up.
Right.
And they were supposed to honor her as one of the mothers.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
You know, because all the mothers, yes. And I thought, this woman is going to kill me. Because I could hear it on the radio. I'm like, she's going to kill me, and she's going to chop me up, and she's going to throw me in this wooded area by there, or the field, or maybe feed me to the cows, you know. And I was just, I couldn't hold anything, you know. I didn't eat anything. I was just like, I was dry heaving. I was drawing the blood by the time it was done. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be so in trouble with my mother. And then it dawned on me, my mother's not coming to get me. What am I talking about? You know, it's been over a year. She's not coming to get me. And this is why I did this in the first place. And so anyways, during that time while I was throwing up, I says, I am so sorry about this. You shouldn't have to be here with me and stay here with me for this. And she says, well, it's not as bad. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as if I swallowed Raid. And I thought, she knows. And I says, are you going to tell my mom? And she says, yes.
Oh.
And I thought, oh my gosh. And I thought, what am I worried about? My mom's not coming to get me. What's she going to do? You know?
Right.
And so I'm thinking, she knows that didn't bother me. She knows what I'm doing. Why am I not in the hospital?
Well, while you were throwing up, she was probably praying for you. Probably.
Right. I guess so. Because we know it works.
Right.
From suicide, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, you know, after a while I thought, why am I not in the hospital? wait a minute, you know. And so I thought, well, I'm going to be in sore trouble with my mom if she ever decides to talk to me again. Half a year later, my mom finally comes and picks me up, and I thought it was going to be a big trouble from that and piercing my ears and whatever. Well, anyways, my mom, come to find out, my mom was mad about the ear piercing, but she never said anything about the suicide. And I was like, So what was that all about? And so, so a few years ago, when I got in this Yahoo groups and I was telling this woman about this story, she says, well, did they ever tell your mom? And I just assumed they did. But now, 3 decades later, I thought, well, maybe they didn't. And so I asked my mom, I contacted my mom. I says, Mom, did they ever tell you I tried to kill myself when I was in the home? And she says, no. They never told me. And I said, did they tell you pierced my ear? She says, yes, I was furious about that. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, so they told you something as stupid as I pierced my ears, but they never told you I tried to kill myself?
I guess the other one was more important.
I guess making piercings in your body is way more important than trying to obliterate it.
I guess so.
But I just assumed that they had told her, and she thought, well, you know what, let's let bygones be bygones. But I thought, my gosh, they didn't even tell her. And my mother was paying for me to be there, and I know that for a fact, because they accidentally left her payment receipt in one of the letters they gave me, because they pre-read them things.
Right.
And they accidentally left it, and there was an invoice in there for my food, my housing, my schooling, my, amenities.
Your wasp spray.
And she was...
That was a joke, Julie. It was a joke.
No, I was like, oh yeah, I know. But like, for your pantyhose and stuff,
my goodness,
female hygiene products.
Right.
Because luckily, we got to use them when we were there. But, I just thought, my gosh, how messed up they were. And, geez, that's just, oh my. So after what I went through, I could believe that they'd give people medication to stop their periods. Nothing. I don't think they'd stop at anything.
Yeah.
So.
Julie, this was great. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad I could tell. I could tell because I've never heard anybody talk about the Palmer home or the Dye home.
Right.
I've heard a lot about Rebekah. I've heard about, Bethany. I've heard about Agape. I've heard about all of them, but nobody's ever talked about the Dye home.
The Dye home, yeah.
And maybe because it was just so short-lived,
Uh-huh.
and there wasn't many people in there to begin with.
That could be it. That could be it. It was kind of like in the back somewhere, behind everybody's view, so nobody really knew it was there.
Yeah.
So, not the church people.
Like when I talk, everybody.
Right, not the church people, but the people that were away from that church probably had no idea. That they probably thought that the Rebekah Home was closed, so that's it. But they didn't realize, I guess, that there were some smaller homes there that just was below the radar. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Now I do remember at one time there was somebody from somewhere, I don't know, Child Protective Services or something, that came out to interview us and ask us like if there was any abuse or something. And I think that was started from one of the gals who was supposed to come into the home, and she didn't end up coming into the home. Her parents were still there, and she just kind of took off from the home and ran towards them during the church service. And she told them how horrible it was, right, where we were. And so, it was like a few months after that this person showed up and asked us questions. And I thought, you can't just take us out for a walk and expect us to talk like this. We're programmed.
Right.
You can't just ask us a few questions and expect the truth. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
We've been programmed. So I don't know. I just think that, with forgetting all this other stuff, it's just how much, religious garbage that was shoved down our throat that's counterproductive to what the parents who send their kids there are wanting for their kids. Yeah. And that's what these parents got to, if they're sending their kids to a religious institution, they might want to think twice about it, because sometimes what they do in these institutions is turn the kids away from it, because they do too much.
Right. All right. Julie, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Stay on the line. Let me talk to you real fast, okay? Stay on the line. Okay. All right. For everybody out there, this is the Hammer Podcast. I'm Jason. Thank you for watching. I want to thank Julie for being here and telling her story. And we will see you next time. So, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.